Now, if you want easier sales and if you want better leads and better prospects, you probably heard about creating a lead magnet, right? I do think lead magnets are very good, but I do think there's actually a more evolved concept out there that's called sales assets, creating sales assets, right? And sales assets are not just solely there to attract leads, to get you emails and phone numbers. It's actually, like lead magnets, assets that can aid your sales process, that can make your prospect more educated, that can pre-handle the objections, pre-handle the questions that people have, and then shorten the sales cycle and make it easier for the prospect to buy. But most of the time, people don't know what they should actually create lead magnets or sales assets about, right? Like, what should I make my lead magnet about? Many people do an ebook or something like that. I don't think that's the right approach. You can do an ebook, but you want to do it in a more scientific way, right? You want to actually base it on the answers that your clients are looking for. So let's hop into the computer and look at our process on how to create sales assets, or better known as the better lead magnets. So let's talk about creating sales assets, right? So in my opinion, sales assets are the superior lead magnets. We used to call things like that lead magnets. I do think right now it's all about getting them into the sales process rather than into the lead process. So sales assets are basically materials, resources that supports the sales process, helps out our sales team or our marketing team, engages the prospects, and overcomes objections and helps close the deal, right? So these assets can take various forms, and we can use them at different stages of the buyer's journey, right? So whether in the beginning it would be straight up a lead magnet, and then further on, these are called, in my opinion, sales assets, right? So what are the benefits of creating sales assets? So in my opinion, the one very, very clear benefit is that it kind of streamlines the sales process, right? You can shorten the sales cycle of a given prospect, but you can also establish credibility and expertise, nurture the lead with valuable content, right? So that's super helpful. That's what content does in general, but this is going to be very specific about making that buying decision, right? We can make very targeted communication possible, right? So once we have those sales assets in place, you ideally want to create them for different types of buyers, right? Because you're going to have some different types of avatars that you're targeting, right? Like not everybody's going to have the same net worth, the same situation, the same, advancement inside of the stages that you provide, right? So you can actually create a library of those and then just pinpoint target everywhere, right? And it makes the communication consistent, right? So all of your salespeople, all of the people in the funnel can use the same assets. And obviously it can massively automate parts of the sales process, right? So pre-educate the buyers, reduce manual effort. And this one very, very big part is that it differentiates you from your competitors. I can guarantee you that apart from like maybe having one lead magnet, none of your competitors have anything like that set up, right? So you want to have a library of 10, 20, 30 sales assets so that you can basically send them 10 before the sales calls, and then you have another 10 for after the sales call, so you can have always a good reason to follow up. That's the last point. Having sales assets and having valuable stuff always gives you a reason to follow up with, right? Like it's not like, hey, I just wanted to check in if you want to buy. It's like more like, hey, here's another case study. Here's another, valuable piece of content for you. So that always gives you a reason to follow up. So what are some examples of sales assets, right? Like, so obviously my main bread and butter, I always like to do a video because then you can transcribe the video, you can, build it into a report. Nowadays with AI tools, you almost have to do no effort. But I mean, it can be explainer videos, testimonials, product demos, webinars. That's all a sales asset. And if you have that pre-recorded, right, or if you have that recorded after you do it, you can always send it again. Product sheets, brochures, informational documents, right, outlines, the services, kind of outlines your company, whatever, right, case studies, Rolodex is also something like that. Then obviously case studies, right, how you implemented your product or service, helped solve a problem for our customers, showcasing the success and the results, right? And then obviously the testimonials and the reviews of that. So that would be like the case study would you showing kind of how you did the planning, how you did the fulfillment of the service or the product. And then the testimonial would be the client actually reacting to that, right? So that's already two sales assets. Hey, here's how we did it. And here's the customer reacting to it, right? Guides and eBooks, right? You can educate them about specific trends, setting up SOPs, right? I should probably I should probably add SOPs to that because I love SOPs. That's basically very valuable, right? Like how do you actually do things? How do you actually, like here's a book that I wrote, right? Like that's an amazing sales asset that has high credibility, high leverage. Templates, right? So for in my marketing case would be like emails or messages. I would probably, let me switch that to templates, right? Because that could be, like, hey, this is our investing cheat sheet, or this is how, our funding cheat sheet, or whatever, right? Like, or this is a template on how you can, send this to the officials and you get that, this and this and that, right? FAQ sheets. FAQs are such a big point, right? Like obviously answering the frequently asked questions over and over again, right? Like what gets repeated gets remembered. So you have to kind of repeat things multiple times. You want to have an FAQ on your page, FAQ on your docs, FAQ videos, repeating it over and over again, right? Then scripts. Right? Scripts are massively valuable, right? Like if you, especially in a sales context, that would be very valuable, but like, hey, this is how you actually can talk to an official, right? Like this is a script that you can use to talk to an official could also be something, right? And it doesn't always have to be from you, right? Like you can send a video from a third party. You can send a video from a report, right? Like, hey, here is actually, an article that somebody wrote that I do think is very valuable for you, right? Like it doesn't always have to be your own. It can just be valuable stuff, right? Like, and if you have a library, I would suggest you create a library, like I said, of about 20 to 30 of these things. So you have them always ready at your deployment. And this is something that we recently did, and this has worked wonders, right? So avoid the guesswork when creating those sales assets, base them on data for a more scientific approach, right? So our approach was really, I want to say like almost like a study. So the problem is like you either have to really know your customers and marketing fundamentals to understand how to create sales assets. Like we prefer relying on data for us and for our clients as well. So what we are doing is we're using sales conversations, right? Like obviously you're going to have a couple ones, but normally most people record their phone calls, their sales conversation. And what you want to do is you want to transcribe those sales conversations. Right? I would recommend at least 30 so that I have a sample size. If you have 100, that's really statistically relevant, right? Then you want to feed the data into ChatGPT, right? You can upload into ChatGPT, the newest version, you can upload about 10 scripts per message. Who knows, maybe that might even change in the future. And I mean, maybe you could copy the whole word thread into it. I like to just upload the PDFs or the text files, very easy. And then you want to ask ChatGPT the following prompts, right? What are the five most common objections and how often are they mentioned, right? Like they're going to see like, hey, 10 times almost in every call a person asked this, right? Like that's an instant video and an instant report or guide, right? Like that you want to do about this topic. Because if that question gets asked every time, you have to tackle it before the sales call, right? And then what are the five most frequently asked questions, right? So objections and frequently asked questions. My recommendation is basically make a video about all of these topics. And what you can also then do is you can transcribe your own video and ask ChatGPT to kind of make a guide about it, or another AI program, maybe even a colorful Canva guide or something like that, right? So here you already have 10 sales assets. Very easy. You can almost automate the creation of that because ChatGPT, if you feed the transcripts into ChatGPT, it already has your answers to these questions by you spoken, right, from the sales calls. And then I always like to have like ChatGPT give me a little bit of ideas, right, based on these 10 sales calls. And these are the prompts, right? Like you can put in these prompts and this prompt, right? Give me 10 unique ideas to create sales assets that will make my prospects more likely to buy. And I think most of the time, about 5 to 7 of those are pretty good, right? So a couple ones are going to be really out there. And basically every quarter, right, or every couple months, you're going to repeat that process. Just going to repeat that. Like you're going to create the first 15, right? You're going to deploy them in your sales calls, see if there's statistical difference, right? Like if people are more likely to buy, which normally should be the case, right? And then they're going to ask different questions because you already tackled the questions most of the time. So you're going to reanalyze you can do this every 100 sales calls, right? Like if you have fast iteration cycles, you can analyze those questions, boom, make more videos, make more sales assets. Analyze the calls, make more sales assets, right? So that's very easy way to do it, very scientific way to do it. There's almost no way of going wrong with this. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions about this and if you want me to send over the SOP for this. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to have the SOP in a written form, then click the link below. This is where we link the SOP where you can download it. And if you want us to help you grow your business with content and advertising systems together, then click the link below as well and schedule a free 20-minute call with our team.